Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so happy that you're joining us today, and we don't want you to miss an episode. Please make sure that you subscribe to our show on iHeartRadio or wherever you find your podcast. We have two wonderful guests for you today. Gail Gritts will be here to tell us about her brand new addition to her Reba and Katherine series, Grandpa's Gift. We will also be speaking to Tabitha Bell, the author of Agent 603. Hey, for all the authors that are listening out there, I wanted to share with you this great email that we received here at the Reading with Your Kids podcast from Dr. Linda Mubarak. She is a past guest and the author of Maxine's new job. Here's the email. Dear Fatima and Jed, good news! Maxine's new job has been nominated to receive the prestigious Henri Award at the 2018 Christian Literacy Awards for Outstanding Literacy Work in the Children's Book Division. I sincerely believe your certifying Maxine as a great read helped bring increased social media attention to the book. Thank you for the exposure and the great marketing. We are so happy for Dr. Linda Mubarak that her book, Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read, Maxine's New Job, received this prestigious recognition. We would love to help your book receive that same kind of recognition. If you are interested in having your book considered for our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program, please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can click on the contact button, send us a note, and we'll send all the information back to you. Or you can go right to our Certified Great Read page on our website. It's fun, it's easy, and it is really an effective way to let the world know that your book stands out above all the rest. The Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. Joining us on the line right now from Mansfield in Ohio, where the ground is covered with a beautiful coat of snow. She's back again. We've had her on to talk about her messy hair games. Today we're talking about her latest book, Reba and Katherine, Grandpa's Gift. Please welcome back to the show, Gail Gritts. Gail, how are you?
I'm just fine, thank you.
Glad you had a safe trip out to Ohio, and we're glad that you're here to tell us about Grandpa's Gift.
Yes, it's an exciting story.
Tell us all about it.
Well, Grandpa's Gift is the second story in the Reba and Katherine series, and Reba and Katherine are with their great-grandparents and again with Grandma Vanna, and they take a little trip to town. Grandpa decides he's going to buy the girls a little gift, and the gift that he chooses, the grandmothers don't really approve of.
Oh, my goodness. I have a feeling that that's going to be in my future. My son got married in January, and there's no grandkids right now, and you know, they're probably in the distant future. But I have a feeling, just based on some of my gift buying for my kids and my nieces and nephews, that there's a chance I might make the same mistake that Grandpa makes. Or is it a mistake? Or is it just that the grandmothers look at things differently?
Oh, I think it's that they look at things differently. Grandpa thought it was great fun.
That's awesome. You know, can you take, because I know it's kind of dangerous these days to talk about, but grandpas and grandmas, they're different.
Yes, I think grandmas and grandpas are very different, but I think you learn something from both of them. Mm-hmm. I know my grandmothers were very much about, do right, do this, do that, clean your hair, all these kinds of things. And Grandpa was a lot more about, let's have some fun, let's go outside and play in the snow, let's, do this, let's do that. And they're a lot more playful, let's put it that way, than a grandmother. Especially when grandmother's taking care of you. She is very responsible then. Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the reasons I said that is because I recognize that, the traditional roles that grandmas and grandpas take, they're traditional, but it doesn't lock people into that. My grandmother was the opposite. My grandmother was a fun one. She used to ride in the back of my motorcycle, and she went to the pro wrestling matches with me, took me to the roller derby. We had all it made
Fantastic.
My mom, it made my mom and my dad a little bit crazy, but
I think that's the great thing about grandparents, isn't it? They can create memories that parents can't do. I know as a grandmother myself now, I enjoy it a whole lot more because I can do a lot of more crazy things than I could with my own children.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you're trying to be the mom, the dad, that kind of thing. But as a grandparent, feed them some candy. It'll be all right.
Yeah. It's funny. You said, create memories. I thought you were going to say create havoc.
We can do that too.
Well, I know my wife and I were just out to dinner the other night, and we had the pleasure of sitting next to this beautiful, I think she was probably 4 or 5 months old. She was absolutely breathtakingly cute. And, of course, she was flirting with us and wanted our attention. And she was out to dinner. It was the first time her grandparents took her out on their own. And they were both, having a blast with her, but they're also terrified that they're going to do something wrong.
Yeah, you don't want any tales to go back to mom and dad, do you?
No. And they were sharing with us that, everything's changed. They had car seats when their kids were young, but they can barely figure out how to put the child into the cars, the new car seats. There's all sorts of new buttons and switches and gizmos.
Yeah, you can't have fingernails if you're going to operate car seats, that's for sure.
Okay, well, thank goodness I don't have them again. It's off down the line for me right now, but I love this. Now, did becoming a grandparent yourself, was that the inspiration for the Reba and Katherine series?
In so many ways it was, because I live overseas, as you know, and my son came over and worked with us for 2 years and brought his 2 little girls with him. And I got to be a grandmother for about 2 years. And so that's where the stories kind of came from, is telling the girls stories and at bedtime and nap time. And I kind of got tired of Cinderella and the 3 Bears and started telling them the stories about Reba and Katherine. And they loved them. And every nap time, every night time, it was tell me Messy Hair Game, tell me Grandpa's Gift. And they just loved the stories. And that's how it began. Yeah. Yes.
Now, we should clarify that Mansfield, Ohio is not overseas from Boston, Massachusetts, just in case people are listening and keeping score and thinking, no, wait a minute, did Jedley move somewhere?
No, I live in England most of the time. I'm home right now in America till July, traveling. And so Reba and Katherine are going with me, and I've been I was in Virginia last week and read in a school there twice, and I was in Mount Orb, Ohio, yesterday, talking about the book there to a church. And so Reba and Katherine are kind of like on tour right now.
That's wonderful. Like a big rock and roll tour. So cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get the big tour bus and everything and lots of roadies.
Well, I don't know. My husband's driving the car, so
okay.
That's the tour
that's he's your roadie for right now.
Yeah.
Tell us what reactions are people giving you after experiencing Reba and Katherine?
Oh, it was so fun. I read to the school there in Virginia, in Seaford, early school, and the little children just sat mesmerized, and the teachers are at the back of the room. Of course, the teachers catch the humor that's in the story quicker than the children, and the teachers are giggling back there. At the end of the story, the little children just break into applause because it's just so much fun for them, and it really warms your heart when you know the story has given them that much joy.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, now I know you created these stories for your grandkids. That's how they came to life. But now as you're, sharing this and probably thinking about new adventures for Reba and Katherine to have, what is it, what kind of thoughts do you have as you're sitting down thinking, wow, my words, the words that I'm stringing together to create this story, they're going to be shared by a family, sitting on a couch together, snuggled up in bed, and families are going to be listening to these stories, listening to my words.
Oh, I think it's great. I've gotten comments back from several people. One lady in Canada wrote to me and said her granddaughter has to hear Messy Hair Game right now every night before she goes to bed. She loves the story. Another family in the Carolinas wrote to me and said their little girl has to sleep with the book because she's got to have it every night before she goes to bed. And I think it's just great because I feel the stories show a real family love, a real traditional type thing that sometimes we're losing. And I think we need to reinforce those things. And by getting families reading stories together and enjoying it, hopefully will help them to then tell their own stories to their children and keep that continuity that we talked about before.
Yeah, so very important. And I just love, Reba and Katherine, it reminds me, now my kids are much older right now, but it reminds me of how when we would read books together, it almost always led to us talking about stories about other members of our family and stories from our youth. So it wasn't, that reading with your kids, it's, yes, you're reading the words on the page, but that's the beginning. And those words lead to your words coming from your imagination and your experiences, sharing with your kids, letting them know about you and growing closer to you.
Exactly. And I think as well, it's just good, as you talk about so many times on your podcast, that reading with your kids is so important. Not only the fact that you can draw in the conversations, but them learning intonation and then learning when the books rhyme and stopping and saying, why did this happen? Or why did that come out that way? Especially with the messy hair game, there's the lesson of forgiveness and obedience in there, where you can stop and talk about, why did Grandma get upset? And even with this one, you can even talk about with Grandpa's gift, why did the grandmas get upset and why did the grandpa think it was funny? But when we're playing family jokes on one another, clean, happy jokes that don't hurt people, there's a happiness and a community that happens inside our home that draws us together.
I love that. And I think folks forget sometimes that our home is a community.
It is.
And it's the place where our kids start to learn how to live in community with others.
Right. It's so important. I really, when I was raising my children, I've always thought of them as little citizens. I'm trying to raise people that will go out and become good citizens in their community and have good work ethic, and be honest and these types of things. And we're trying to create that inside our home. And as our family grows, which now, as they get married and bring in other people and your home becomes a larger community with different family influences, you want all that strength inside your family. And that's what makes the family strong and beautiful.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that Gail was sharing with me before the interview started today is that she was very excited that Messy Hair Games has been translated into Spanish, which isn't so surprising. My books have been translated into Spanish, but it's also been translated into Welsh. That is not something we hear about that often. So tell us about how that came about.
Well, that came from another little girl that loved the story, and she read it and read it and read it, and she is a little Welsh girl. She's my friend's daughter, and she decided she's only 7, but she goes to an all-Welsh school, so she speaks Welsh fluently, and she wanted to translate the story into Welsh, so she sat down at 7 years old and translated the story into Welsh, and then her mother was amazed and took it to the teacher. That wound up taking it to another lady, and they helped her with the little bits of things that she needed to get, more tidy with her language, and they translated into Welsh. And so it's coming up online the next week or two. It has the Welsh translation, and then below it does have the English translation as it's reflected in the Welsh. So it doesn't sound exactly like the Messy Hair Game that you had before. You still get the whole story, but some of the words are a little bit different the way they translate it out. But it's been an amazing venture. And just yesterday I was talking with the little girl's mother, and she has found several Welsh and American associations here in England, here in America, and we're going to send the information about the book to them and see if they want to pick it up as well.
That is wonderful. Now, just in case folks, again, talking about geography, Wales is a part of the United Kingdom.
That's right.
And I hear it's a really beautiful part of the United Kingdom.
Oh, it is. I love Wales. It's full of mountains, and it's got the sea coast on 3 sides. It's only takes for us about an hour and a half to drive there, maybe 2 hours to the water. But it's a very rugged, but gorgeous place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's one of the things about the United Kingdom and those islands is that it's a fairly small place area-wise, but the different islands, the different communities, the different countries are very, very different.
That's right. That's right. There's areas of North Wales that are all by the sea, and then you drop to the middle. It's full of mountains, and then they go down toward Cardiff. It gets to what they call the valleys, where there's huge mountain and then a very deep valley, and a huge mountain and a very deep valley, where the water, of course, is cut down as it goes down to the sea. But if you go north of Wales, you go up into the Lake District, where there's huge mountains, but they are bald. They just have peat moss on them, not many trees, and they're just covered with sheep. And there's just huge pockets of Britain and Scotland that all the terrain is different. So you can drive, an hour or two and be in completely different terrain.
Wow. Well, you piqued my interest, and the UK and Ireland are one of the places my wife and I are thinking about traveling now that our kids are grown.
Yay!
And maybe we'll be delivering us grandchildren at some point. And
Yes.
I can't wait to start reading to my future grandkids. I think it's just going to be so much fun.
It will be. And they'll learn to read earlier, and they'll learn to enjoy the stories. It's so fun when they start to read to you. I remember when these two granddaughters, the older one had learned to read, and the little one had not yet. And the older one wanted to read me a story one day, and so I'm like, okay, that's fine. And the little one just slumped down. I said, what's wrong? She says, oh, she reads so slow. But we let her work her way through her book, and within 6 months, she could read as fast as anybody else. It's just great to watch them learn to love reading and just to grow with it.
Yeah. And also just learn to love and learn that they are loved. I think that's probably the most important lesson that we teach our kids when we choose to read with them, cook with them, exercise with them, talk with them, is that we're helping them learn that they are loved.
Exactly. And all they need is that little bit of time that you set aside. The stories don't take 5 minutes to read, do they? But the influence is for a lifetime.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about traveling to the UK, and we talked about you traveling to Ohio. Where can folks travel to on the internet to learn more about Gail Gritts and your Reba and Katherine stories?
Well, we're out there enough now that if you just Google in Gail Gritts, everything pretty much pops up because we've got enough activity going. But the books are available on Amazon, and I'm on a website called True Story Keepsake. And I'm working on that one. You know how you have to develop these things sometimes.
You do.
I'm being kind of advised that I need to revamp and just turn the whole thing into Reba and Katherine. So we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, we've been talking today to the author of Grandpa's Gift, a brand new book from our guest, Gail Gritts. Gail, thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Oh, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
The author of Agent 603, Tabitha Bell, will be here in just a moment. But before she comes in, I want you to know that we are looking for a few great schools to host our all-new in-school experience, Reading with Your Kids Live. That's right, we're looking for some great schools and some great students to celebrate our shared love of reading and learning with storytelling, magic, and lots of totally interactive fun. We may even feature some of the kids in your community on a future episode of the podcast. You can check it all out at our website, readingwithyourkids.com/live. readingwithyourkids.com/live. Joining us on the line right now from Springfield in Missouri. She is the author of a great new middle grade book called Agent 603, The Teddy Files. Please welcome to the show, Tabitha Bell. Tabitha, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am excellent. We just had a little technical glitch, And when I introduced Tabitha a minute ago, she disappeared, and I thought, whoa, this is a mystery, just like Agent 603. This sounds like a really fun book. Tell us all about it.
Well, Agent 603 is a brand new agent to the Teddy Seals, and the Teddy Seals are a secret organization of teddy bears that live right under our noses. And their mission is to protect and cuddle, and they've been around since ages and ages ago, from back when we were all nomads to current times. They've been traveling the earth, saving people from monsters and bad dreams and anything you can think of.
Wow. Where did the inspiration for a high-tech agency of teddy bears come from?
Well, this actually brings my husband into the mix. When he was traveling and we were still dating, he sent me a teddy bear, and then we came up with a silly story about the teddy bear watching over me, I should say. And from there, we kind of grew into this fun story, and we kept building off of it, and he helped me make an outline, and then I fleshed it out, and we ended up with Teddy Files.
Very, very cool. I love the mission to protect and cuddle. And it's really sweet. And I love the fact that it came from such a sweet place, such a loving place. I'm curious, though. A lot of us, when we think of teddy bears, we think of the little ones. We think of, our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. And sometimes our 7-year-olds need to still hang on to that teddy bear, but not so much middle grade kids. What led you to the decision to write a middle grade book about a society of teddy bears?
Well, I wanted to do something different, and a lot of people nowadays seem to breed off of nostalgia. And I felt like there's a lot of strife going on in the world. There's a lot of controversies going on in the world, and we needed to bring things back to innocence. And maybe even if you can never be too old for your teddy bear, in my opinion. I still have my teddy bear. So for me, it was very much a calling back to innocent times and ensuring kids know it's still okay to be a kid. It's still okay to be innocent a little longer.
Well, I cannot agree with you more. Before the interview started, Tabitha and I were talking. She's originally from the Philadelphia area, and I was telling her a little bit about my educational magic shows, and that's one of the things that's so neat when I go into a school, and I do a lot of work in middle schools and some work in high schools and colleges. And I have this very, very clear memory. I may have shared this on the podcast in the past of being in a city you might be familiar with, Camden, New Jersey, which is and their school system is a very inner city school system. And I was in a middle school, and the principal introduced me by saying to the kids, I don't know who booked this person to come in here. I don't know why they're here. Just sit down and be quiet for the next 45 minutes. Obviously thinking that I was too silly for these sophisticated middle school kids. To his credit, he apologized after the show because the kids absolutely loved it. And it was a minute for them to kind of regain their innocence and to be kids again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, growing up in Philadelphia, a lot of the middle school kids, they seem to really want to grow up quickly. They want to be that cool high school kid while they're still 10 and 11. They want to grow up as fast as they can, partially because of the difficulties that they're facing and the environments that they're put in. And it's nice to be able to see them be children and to be themselves and not feel like they have to be an adult. Absolutely.
Now, writing children's books, is this something that you've always aspired to do?
I've always aspired to write in general. Children's book was more an accidental thing. It was fun to write. It was a lot of whimsy. I got to be creative and imaginative. It was just a lot of fun to do. I have written started a slightly darker story for adults, think more Stephen King, but I didn't like dwelling in that mindset, so I switched over to children's.
I understand. I had been a huge fan of Stephen King from a very young age, right up until the day after I became a dad. And, and after holding my son, and I picked up, I think it was a Stephen King book, but it was either Stephen King or an Anne Rice. It was one of those books. And I started, reading where I had left off, and I said, nope, don't want to go here, and have not been back to that since then.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, what kind of reactions have you gotten from people who've read Agent 603?
I've gotten the comment several times that it is very imaginative, and at first I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or not, or if that was just them being polite. So I asked a couple of readers to clarify, and they said, no, that's imaginative in a good way, not a sarcastic way, I promise. I've also gotten a lot of feedback from surprisingly, teenager-y, early 20s, who have read it, and were very pleasantly surprised, and they were very happy, and they're like, I love teddy bears, I love reading this book.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Can you give us a little feel for some of the action that we'll experience reading Agent 603?
Absolutely. Well, it starts out, Agent 603 has to find his assigned human, Amy. So that involves a crane machine at a bowling alley. And at one point there is a dragon named Basila. There are pirates, there's pancakes, there's marshmallow guns. Let's see, what else? There is a lot of action and adventure. There's gummy bears.
And gummy bears, that's awesome. Now, has anybody brought up to you, you're telling me the premise of, the teddy bears looking over you. Has anybody brought up the fact that there are actually teddy bears right now that can be equipped with cameras and audio microphones so the parents can kind of keep their eye on their kids and maybe the nannies and the babysitters?
That was actually the first thought that I had when we were coming up with this story, and my husband mentioned that the teddy bear was there to look over me. So I kind of put that one to the side because I was like, that's a little much.
That's a little creepy there.
So we decided to go a much more whimsical route. Wow. I wanted children to be able to say they lost their teddy bear at the airport. I wanted them to be able to find some comfort in the fact that, hey, maybe my bear isn't lost. Maybe he's on a mission.
Ah, very cool, very cool. Now, you obviously love the results of Agent 603. Are you planning more stories with this character and with the Society of Bears, or do you have other plans in mind?
I am planning on turning this into a series. So the way this book is released, there is a prologue that is actually by a bear named Captain Cannoli, and that's his alias. And he is releasing teddy seal files that he's releasing to the world so that we can know what teddy bears are doing, because it's time for the humans to know. So that's actually what the book is about, is Captain Cannoli is releasing files. So the next file he releases, I have 2 stories in the works. One involves the Pied Piper and a deaf heroine who is going to save everybody. And the other one involves a princess turned pirate.
Very cool. I love this. Now, where can folks connect with you so they can learn more about Agent 603 and be the first to know about any new projects that are coming from you?
Well, currently you can check out my Twitter at Tabitha3330. I have not yet made a website, but that is in the works, and I will update that on Twitter.
Very good. Very good. And I know we can find Agent 603 on Amazon. Are there other places where we can find it?
Locally, there is a bookstore here in Springfield, Missouri called ABC Books, and it is available there as well.
Awesome. Well, we certainly want to encourage everybody to check out Agent 603, The Teddy Files. We've been talking to the author today, Tabitha Bell. Tabitha, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Pragya Tomar. Pragya Tomar will be here. We hope you will be here too. Hey, if you're the author of a great children's book, you want to be on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We hit #1 on the kids and family charts on all of the leading podcasting platforms, and we would love to have you up there on top with us. Being a guest in the show gives you a chance to tell thousands and thousands of people about your great children's book. And check it out. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it is absolutely free. You can learn more by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button. Let us know all about your great children's book. We'll let you know the next easy steps. Hey, want to thank our guest today, Gail Gritts. Check out Grandpa's Gift, and also Tabitha Bell, the author of Agent 603. And of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.